Deep in the heart of Meadowvale, animals lived in harmony among the lush greenery and babbling brooks. But there was one thing everyone agreed on: Ruby, the rabbit, and Toby, the tortoise, could never be friends. Ruby was known for her speed and energy, constantly hopping from one adventure to the next. Toby, on the other hand, was slow and steady, preferring to spend his days under the shade of a tree, watching the clouds roll by. One sunny morning, Ruby darted through the meadow, her paws barely touching the ground as she practiced for the great meadow race. Suddenly, she tripped over something solid. "Hey! Watch where you're going," grumbled Toby, pulling his head out of his shell. Ruby brushed herself off. "Well, maybe you should watch where you're standing. You're as slow as a rock." Toby sighed. "And you're as restless as the wind. Always in a rush, never stopping to see what's around you." The two glared at each other before parting ways, certain they'd never get along. That night, as the moon cast its glow over Meadowvale, Willow the owl flew down to perch on the ancient oak tree. She had seen the squabble and decided to intervene. "Ruby, Toby," Willow hooted the next morning, "I have a challenge for you both. There's a rare golden flower growing at the top of Hillcrest. It only blooms for one day. Bring it back together, and you'll win a prize." "A race?" "I'm in," Ruby said, her ears twitching with excitement. "Together?" Toby repeated, frowning. "How can we work as a team when we're so different?" Willow smiled mysteriously. "That's for you to figure out." The journey to Hillcrest began. Ruby dashed ahead, her speed leaving Toby far behind. She reached the riverbank first, but the current was too strong for her to jump across. Toby caught up, panting but unshaken. "A fallen log upstream could help us cross," he said calmly. Ruby rolled her eyes, but followed Toby's lead. They pushed the log together and managed to cross the river. As they approached a dense thicket, Ruby tried to leap over the brambles, but got tangled in the sharp thorns. "Ouch! Help!" she cried. Toby carefully chewed through the brambles, freeing Ruby. "Sometimes, slow and steady wins the day," he said with a chuckle. Ruby huffed but managed a small smile. When they finally reached Hillcrest, the golden flower was blooming in all its glory. But a gust of wind threatened to blow its fragile petals away. Ruby shielded the flower with her quick reflexes, while Toby dug a small hole to secure its roots. Together, they saved the flower and carried it back to Willow. "You've done well," Willow said, her eyes twinkling. "What have you learned?" Ruby looked at Toby and grinned. "That speed isn't everything. Toby's patience and ideas were just as important as my quickness. And I learned," Toby added, "that sometimes you need a little energy and boldness to get things done." From that day on, Ruby and Toby became inseparable friends. They balanced each other perfectly. Ruby brought excitement to Toby's world, and Toby taught Ruby the joy of slowing down to appreciate life.